Welcome to the OFX podcast. I'm Dave Claxton, and this podcast is brought to you by Duonamic, creators of doorway pull-up systems. Really awesome to use. So definitely check them out on Instagram at Duonamic Tech when you're looking at that. And along with me, as always, is the maternal Metcon maniac, Bethany McChesney.
Maternal.
And the maternal thing will make sense. There's a theme.
Gotcha. Yes.
Makes sense. And we're going to get to our guest, Lauren Weeks, really quick. We're not going to waste too much time here today, but I did want to talk about one of our local events that is not happening, Rugged Maniac in Kitchener. And so the deal is, I guess, Rugged Maniac usually happens in Kitchener every year. And I believe right now it's Canada's only Rugged Maniac event. And they have canceled, but they're kind of calling it a postpone, and they've moved it to September 3rd, and they've also moved locations to somewhere that's about an hour and a half away. And quite frankly, a lot of people are pissed, and kind of deservedly so. Yeah. Beth, what do you think about?
Well, the frustrating parts of this are it was canceled or postponed 2 weeks before, and the reasoning is because of grounds maintenance, which doesn't really make any sense. So it's like everyone's kind of settling into now things are happening. COVID is behind us. So we're not really planning on things actually being canceled for COVID anymore. And now they're talking about ground maintenance. So it's really confusing to me because I don't know why then this ground maintenance situation, they didn't know about it ahead of time. Or if it was really sprung on them in 2 weeks notice, then why couldn't they just start it the Monday after Rugged? It feels to me like they're not being completely transparent about the reason that they're postponing the event.
The thing is too, I mean, they've had it at the same location over and over and over again, same time of year. Every year it's like the last weekend in May, and it's never been an issue. So I don't, like you say, I'm not sure everything's being completely forward. And if it's the venue that canceled on them, I would think that there would be some recourse that Rugged would be able to take. And here's the thing, like no refunds for this. And normally like Rugged had to cancel over COVID and people were screaming for refunds. And I said, no, people don't be silly. This is out of Rugged's hands. This is government canceling it. This is a pandemic. It's completely out of their control. This scenario, though, not securing a location properly is in their control. And for this situation, I think, because you've changed venue locations, you've changed dates massively, allowing refunds on that one. And they say they can defer to 2023 because again, there's only one, or a different location, but I mean a different venue. But like I said, that means a massive road trip somewhere because there's nothing near.
Yeah.
But who's confident that there's going to be one in 2023?
Right. And I think doing this again now for the third year in a row is really going to cause some loss of faith of the company too. It looks really bad on them. And it was hard enough this year to get people even interested just because of things canceling the last 2 years. And then this is a pretty big sting.
Yeah, and coincidentally on the same day, and we didn't really talk about this, Mud Hero had an event slated that got canceled as well. And all this stuff does not look really good for the kind of smaller independent OCRs in Canada. Like it's not going well. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's ticket sales or what's going on, but it is a bit scary. There's an article written in CTV News, and a gym called, I'm just going to want to look sure I get the gym in Cambridge called Proactive Training had about 100 members that were going to go to Rugged. And obviously now, 100 participants, it's a lot of money for Rugged that they got there, but these people all are not going to get their money back. Who knows how many would be able to do the other event? Despite the fact Rugged saying, oh, it's a great new venue, we're doing this to give you a better product. And I'm sorry, but that just
but there's so many factors. The location they had was a great product, and where we are, and there's just not OCR races in Southern Ontario, but the population is so dense here that was one of the only races that were really drivable. It is the only race that's drivable to me. in where I don't have to stay over. And yeah, so, and in 2019, I had 45 people from my small gym in my small town go, 45 people. And with the gym scene too, you're spending months getting ready for it. And it's tough enough getting people back to the gym and motivated to get them to sign up for something, and then it being canceled and then moved location. So now people might have to start looking at places to stay if they're going to go, and it just changes the whole trip.
Yeah, it's a bad deal. It sucks. And I hate to start on a sad note like that, or a note where we're, you know, put off by that, especially because we want more races, not less. But yeah, check out that article by CTV, and actually the gym proactive training, they've decided they are going to host their own little event on the same day to give their members something to do. And now I'm sure it's not going to be a full OCR, but you know, at least they're trying, right? They're trying to give their members what they can. And I definitely feel for them, and who knows, maybe I'll go check it out. We'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, hopefully brighter news on the horizon, and things will pick up and get better. And we'll be at some good races. I mean, you got Ottawa Spartan coming up next weekend, so that'll be something. Are you going to that one?
No, I'm not. I'm going to sit this one out.
I'm not either. I just work and just new job location, just too much work. But anyway, so like I said, we were going to be quick. And now, if you don't know Lauren Weeks, I'm stunned you're listening to this. And we talked to Lauren, talk a lot about her competing at Hyrox World Championship while 8 months pregnant, and just probably one of the most amazing stories of the year. So here we go, Lauren Weeks. So Miss Lauren Weeks, been doing anything interesting?
Have I been doing anything interesting?
Yeah.
Honestly, like very few things interesting, to be honest. It's been a lot of school. Has been my life recently.
So did you intentionally mean to like shame every other mother on the planet?
I don't think I did. At least I hope I didn't.
Shame. Bethany cried.
She did not.
I did. I have a couple clients who are pregnant and who follow the Hyrox community, and they were like, what the hell, Lauren Weeks? And they're like 3 or 4 months pregnant, and they're all like, I'm not even doing the workouts that I was doing 3 weeks ago.
Neither am I. Like, my workouts are definitely very different.
Yeah, but to come out and do what you did, I think it set a standard for pregnant women that most women will never, ever, ever come close to.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that, but like in terms of like daily workout standards into what I used to do versus what I'm doing now, it is very drastically different. And I think just like fitness I had been able to carry over allowed me to get through that race.
Yeah. Do you still follow a structured program, or do you more now just wake up and decide how you feel that day?
I never really followed a structured program. Not in like the more recent years, at least. It's been more off of like how I feel ever since like Hyrox has been a part of my life. It was very structured when I was more into CrossFit, and I followed a program then. But since Hyrox is so new, it's kind of I've had to play around with like what works best and like figuring out programming on my own, and so it's been more of a day-to-day basis or a weekly basis ever since like I kind of switched sports.
So just so we can catch up for people, if you don't know, and I don't know why you wouldn't know, because if you're listening to this, you really should know. Lauren is how far pregnant? How far along were you at Hyrox?
I was 31 weeks then, and now I'm a little over 32 weeks.
Okay, so 31 weeks into pregnancy, competed in Hyrox World Championship, and really didn't do half bad. What was your? I think your final time was like a 1:0 or 1:13 or something like that.
1:13, yeah.
Yeah, 1:13, which in some events is good enough to win.
Very few, but yes, in some of them.
Some of them, it's good enough to win. Don't cut yourself short. And
ninth overall?
9th overall. Like by the skin of my teeth. Like I passed somebody in the wall balls. I think I was running in 10th like the majority of the race. And then it was just in the wall balls that I was able to pass by Camilla.
Before we get too into like the actual race itself, I think the best part of the race for me was the fact that you decided what you needed to do was lead the beginning. And just come out.
People asked me too, like if I had planned on going out hard, and I said, I mean, I do, because like I have absolutely no idea like how hard I can run, what I can sustain. So I'd rather just like feel that and then kind of taper off in the back end versus like go out super conservative, because I'm not going to want to push in the back end. So I'd rather just kind of like feel what my body can do and then make a decision off of that.
And actually, there's one other thing we should do to get some stupidness out of the way. And this is actual stupidness. Precaution. Some people were a little taken back that you were doing this and that, you know, is this dangerous? Is this good for the baby? Is this health safe for you? Maybe you could just lay out precautions and just how, I mean, obviously how seriously you took this and how careful you were.
So I've been in close contact with my physician. Like we've had, I mean, everyone who's pregnant has multiple appointments, but with them, like I've laid out kind of the things that I've been doing and what I wanted to do was something coming up. So that one was probably I'm going to assume that was my last one until for a long time, at least, until I'm cleared afterwards to then go again, which actually has been more of the conversation with her. So she's very much all right with me continuing to work up all the way up until that due date. And then it's more after, so the postpartum, that she wants me to take some time off, which I'm not super thrilled about, but that's like more her like standing point, like you need to back off afterwards and let yourself recover. But I did wear a heart rate monitor. I mean, even more the one that projected it on the screen for everybody to watch. So everybody could see where my heart rate was, and I was able to kind of keep tabs on it. I went back and checked, and it stayed at, my average was a 132 actually.
Oh, wow.
Which
like
is, yeah, which is significantly lower than like what I even work out at. So like even workouts that I can do here in my garage, like that, at least the effort there. Granted, like there was some before time because I don't like to press it as they're saying 3, 2, 1, go. And then maybe a little bit of lag time after. So it's not 100% accurate, but pretty close.
Did she give you a number then for your heart rate? Don't let it go above this number.
No, her main concern was like if you feel dizzy, or like something feels wrong or off, like you have to pull yourself out. So like that was the big one. Like if you start feeling like dizzy or lightheaded, like you have to walk off. That was her big kind of standing ground, but she didn't give me a number for the heart rate. She didn't give me, I think, I heard, like, I know people talked about temperature. I wasn't given, I don't know how I would have monitored my temperature anyway, but I wasn't given like a temperature to not go over. She did talk early on in the pregnancy that I had to be careful to not overheat, which is why I've skipped things like going to Abu Dhabi, and big reason why I didn't go to Jacksonville for the Go Rock games. Well, overheating, one, and then two, we had no idea what the events were. So I couldn't confidently go thinking that I would be safe going there. So there've been a couple of things here and there that I have had to pull out of. But the big thing for her was like dizziness, and she's actually way more concerned about the after recovery than she is leading up to the birth.
I couldn't, and I thought about this actually after Jacksonville, because I knew you didn't go for that reason, but just thinking in the end, you know, if you made it to the final four and then them going, okay, let's wrestle.
I think I would have been like super lucky to have made it to that final four, yeah. But if they did say to wrestle, like I wouldn't have been able to do that. Like that's definitely a no-go. I would have, not pregnant, loved the beach run, but I think that actually would have been something that I wouldn't have been allowed to do just because of like the heat factor. I think that would have been too dangerous.
Well, and even having the rock on you the whole time would definitely contribute to overheating.
Yeah. So I watched as much of it as I could. I had some FOMO, but it was definitely the right decision to not go to that one this year.
So did you get a lot of negative comments and feedback from people?
Not to me personally. So if they're like, I've had nothing but positive from comments like through social media. I've had nothing like while we were there. It was a really cool experience being there, like, because you're surrounded by these stands, and like, granted, I am nowhere near the front, but like people are screaming their heads off because I'm there with like a stomach just going through the event. And then like you'd run by them and people are cheering, and it was a really incredible experience.
That's cool.
But I don't know, I haven't gotten to watch the video that ORM did, and I think Dave was commentating it, right?
Yeah.
I didn't get to see that, so I don't know if there were any negative comments there. So you could update me.
I don't know. I don't think there were. I didn't see any comments. Most of the negative comments were about the bad camera work and the glitchiness of it, which, you know, it was bad. But Bracken, when we started,
but you didn't do the camera work, so
No,
that's not you.
I just talk.
You just talk.
Bracken addressed it right off the beginning that there were precautions put in place, that you were doing things properly and everything like that. So we put that out there immediately before the race started, and I think because that he did that and was ahead of it, that kind of eliminated all questions and any negativity. And I haven't heard any negative comments. You hear whispers about, oh my, was that safe? And not so much a negative comment, more of a, you know, a curiosity to, you know, the safety, because it's not something somebody does very often, right? Like, if it was, it wouldn't be so freaking amazing. Like, you know, we wouldn't.
It's hard to get the opportunity to do something like that. So I had the opportunity and I did want to take it, but I mean, that's also another thing, like I've talked with my doctor, and I'm sure other people have talked with theirs. I'm not allowed to just start doing something that I've never done.
Yeah.
You can only stay with the things that you've already been doing. So if I had never run before, like, I'm not supposed to start running when I'm pregnant. If I have like not great experience mountain biking, which I don't, and I've done it a couple times, even though we have mountain bikes at the house, I haven't been going out mountain biking because I'm not very good at it. So I was allowed to continue doing the things that I've already been doing, but a big part of it was I'm not allowed to do anything that I haven't done before.
I think things have shifted so much in the last 10 years. My kids are coming up to 11 and 9. So 10 years ago, you didn't really see this at all. There's been such a big shift, and I don't know whether it's seeing it more in sports. Like the CrossFit community has been really big too, for like women who've been pregnant and they've worked out through it. And we seem to, with like in the US Olympic trials, an 800-meter runner, she did the Olympic trials pregnant, and that wasn't really happening as much 10 years ago when I was having kids. And I definitely had some experiences where people were completely appalled that I was running when I was pregnant. I actually had someone, I was just finishing a workout and I was doing strides on the track, and I was only maybe 4 months pregnant, and I had a woman run out on the track and grab me.
What?
And started yelling at me about how dangerous it was, and I was going to hurt my baby, and a relative stranger. Yeah. And I had someone in a gym once when I was very pregnant, probably 9 months pregnant. And he was like, you shouldn't be doing this. And he was a personal trainer, actually. And then he told me that I needed to go speak to him after to get proper advice.
Now I'm curious, like, where they got their information from, which probably, I mean, I know like you're much younger than my parents, like you're my age, but like I know like they were probably told from their doctors like certain things that they can't do, but I mean, everything has gotten a lot more progressive since then.
Well, and I think one of the biggest things too with the misinformation is you don't run studies really on pregnant women too much. So we don't really test like at what limit are you harming your child, because you're not going to ever go to that. So it's all out of speculation. And I was involved in a study at the Retirement Research Associate, the Pregnant Research Association at the Western University in London. And they did a lot of the work postpartum actually in the research, because it was so hard to find women who actually trained through their pregnancy and worked out. And they did a lot of studies also on my son. And he was around 6 weeks at the time. And a lot of his biomarkers were just off the chart. And they said it's just so telltale of a woman who exercises during pregnancy. And it was so interesting to hear, because then I think, why are we not then promoting it even more for women to actually keep working out? Like, and I worked out, like you said, like I would do everything that I did before. So I was still doing track workouts as long as I could, just monitoring everything. And like, I was in the gym, and they were just like so amazed at like the differences in my 6-week-old in comparison to women that didn't work out.
That's super. So were you a participant in the study, or were you also like on the science side?
I was a participant. Yeah, I was at that was the university I went to, so I knew about it, and I wanted to be involved in this. Oh, there goes my camera. So I wanted to be involved in the studies after. Yeah, and they did VO2 tests on me, and all these different tests on my son as well. So it was really interesting to be a part of.
That is very interesting.
I want to go back for 1 second just to speak to the people that grabbed you and talked to you. If you see a pregnant woman doing something healthy, shut the fuck up and leave them alone.
Right. Leave them alone, basically. Yeah.
Maybe if you see a pregnant woman in the bar smoking cigarettes and chugging vodka, you might want to say, hey, is that the best choice? And even still, probably still shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're exercising. They don't need your advice. They probably know more than you.
I was so taken back. So this was also when I lived in Dubai. And so you're also bringing in this mix of people from very different cultures. And that's also a really big difference, is where people come from and their culture and how they feel about pregnancy is quite different. So that could have been a factor also. Her background. So I don't know, but it was my first real experience where I felt like people are going to shame me for doing things that are healthy, that I think are totally safe. And yeah, I was a little bit shocked. So when I see you doing something like that, I was like, wow, we have come a long way then from 10 years ago, and how I was treated when I was pregnant.
And I'll even say, like, I wasn't so sure to begin with whether or not I would be allowed to do certain things. So like in like multiple appointments leading up into this point, like I've asked, like, so am I allowed to do this? Like, and it would be just different types of things. It's like, because I've read, and it's not current research, but I've read things that told me that I shouldn't be doing this. And she'd be like, no, like I want you to keep strength training. Like, I want you to keep working on your core. Like, you'll have a healthier pregnancy and you'll feel better afterwards. Like, you'll recover faster. Cause I was under, like, especially even core work, I thought that was like a big thing. Like, you shouldn't be doing core work when you're pregnant. So I was, like, I went into it, I was like, so I know I'm not supposed to be doing this. And she's like, no, like, you can keep doing core work. Like, you will have an easier labor if you continue doing it. Like, there are certain things that maybe you should avoid, and if something hurts, don't do that, but don't like eliminate strength work, don't eliminate core work. But I was ready to give it up because of everything I had read. Granted, they were older research. I just thought I wasn't supposed to.
It only makes sense to me that the healthier and stronger you are, is the better off you're going to be, right? Like, it just seems logical.
And it does, but I was just going off of things that I had found and researched on myself online. And but I did want to ask about, and when I asked, she's like, no, like, you can keep doing strength work, you can keep doing core work. Some of the things, like core things that I've given up are like hollow body positions, because those aren't like, those are not comfortable, so I won't do anything that's in that. But those other types of core things, and anytime you squat or you load weight to yourself, like, it's still, you're using your core a lot, which is why I had asked about the strength stuff.
I mean, like I said, it just seems and it's also very good that you have seemingly a much more current doctor and not somebody who maybe is stuck in the past and like, you know, who maybe has those old ideals that we're dealing with and that we're trying to figure out, you know, why they're still there. So that's good that you have the right doctor. I mean, I'm sure that played a big part in you doing what you did.
No, and I very much appreciate that too. I think most of the women she's worked with before have been runners, and I mean, I've never been a pure runner in my life, so I am like slightly different than some of the other women that she's worked with, but she's been very accommodating. She's listened and like learned about the things that I do and want to do and kind of guided me through it.
One of the questions I had about you doing the Hyrox in Vegas was, and I mean, on a regular, let's say you weren't pregnant, I'm assuming you're going into this race to win. You're going to be world champion. That's what you're driving for, right? If you weren't pregnant at the time, I'm sure that would have been your A goal.
I would be fighting for the best place I could get, and like with new people coming in, it's hard to tell. Like, I had no idea what Miriam was going to do. I think she's a big contender, and I think she has a lot more room to grow. So I'd like to see what she does in the next year too.
Yeah, I was the same. I said if she's within 20 wall balls of whoever is in front of her at the end, you're in a lot of trouble.
But, yeah, and it doesn't even matter who it is.
No.
I mean, we have a lot of strong people in the sport, but she is by far the strongest athlete like that has come into the sport.
So really my question about it was, going into this one, did you get a little time, even during the event, to step back a bit more, kind of out of body, and just take in the atmosphere and, like you say, what's going on and people cheering for you, and the way they had it set up, running by and people like high-fiving as you go by? Were you able to take that in a bit more?
Definitely, because my like especially my burpees were so much slower. So I had lots of time to, and that's when you're surrounded by people. I had lots of time to take that in, and like every time I would stand up to go jump again, like people would be screaming. So it was everything I could do to like not stop at every single one and like wave to people, because they're all so excited that I'm about to do another burpee.
Well, it was something to watch. And I mean, the way they set it up this time, I mean, I thought it was great. Yes, I don't think it was conducive to faster times, but it really looked, from a viewing experience in person, it looked so much better than normal. Like, you were able to follow it so much more as a spectator. And I hope that's something they stick with for the big races.
I think like for viewing pleasure, it should, like the championship race should be like that. And it doesn't matter if you're not going to see the fastest times, because like people want to see the race. So I will say, I request that they space those ski ergs out further next time. Some of them were way too close.
Some knuckle busting.
Viola and I feel bad because like she's actually trying to podium, and so Rebecca was on one side of me and Viola was on the other. Rebecca's ski erg was far enough away that I never hit her, but every single pull down, Viola and I were like hitting each other, and sometimes they would like get tangled, which for me is not like a huge deal, because like I know like I'm not gonna be doing super well in this event. But for Viola, like she's trying to win, she's trying to podium, like, and it was everything I could do to try and keep my arms in, but we still kind of hit. Because some of them were far enough, which means some people might not have had to deal with that. I know Viola did, and
that's gotta suck too. That would be, I know that would be heartbreaking for you, because I mean, that, you know, one, Viola is really nice. Yeah. Two, you don't want to, you know.
I don't want to ruin her race because we're like, our strings are getting tangled.
Well, luckily she had something else in her race anyway, so
yeah, I know, an extra lap. I was there when she went in for her to like go in after she had done the extra lap, and they let Anthony be on the course just to kind of like monitor me as well. I guess I should have added that in earlier. And he told her as she was coming in for her lap, and I still had another one to go. He's like, you know, you ran an extra lap, and like you could hear the disappointment in her voice. She's like, I know, like she was like pretty upset about it even in that moment.
That's tough. And I mean, to come all that way and to you know, to be there. And I mean, if you take away that lap, I figure she would have been fighting for that third spot on the podium too. You know,
she would have had more reason to fight. Like if you're that close, like you're gonna put more effort in. Where I think she was kind of where she, like after that, I think she lost a little bit of fight.
Well, yeah, how could you not, right? Good news, Beth's back.
I know. Switch laptop, sorry. Hasn't happened in a while.
I'm rotating myself a little bit from the sun. But.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you felt through the whole thing, right? So you went out, like we said, you went out hot, which was really cool and very entertaining to start, which probably was the part that pissed me off most about the broadcast, was that the camera was so glitchy then. And I'm like, Lauren's out here. I could see it a little better than what was on YouTube. And I'm like, she's out here killing it, taking right off. And it was just great to watch. So how did you feel going through it? Did you, I mean, obviously with a 132 heart rate, you backed off normally, but how long did you give it, or how hard were you, how much effort were you putting forth?
So I did take out the first run, and then as soon as I got to the ski erg was when I immediately backed off. Like one, the ski erg jacks my heart rate up like probably more than anything. So I usually back off there. So I was going to take that one slower no matter what. And then I don't know if this will stay in the episode, but like I'd mentioned that Viola and I kept getting tangled, which for me is not as big of a deal because I won't be fighting for a podium, but for Viola, it is a very big deal because I'm sure that messed with her time and her mentality as well. And then like after that, it was just like, okay, I'm gonna manage my effort. Like I know now where, like what's going to be comfortable going through the rest of the race, and how I can stay kind of in control. Sorry, that's the dog underneath me moving it. How I can stay in control, and not kind of like go too far into a high heart rate, or I didn't want to get to a point where I was so dizzy that I wasn't going to be able to like at least keep going. I knew that it was a possibility. Like there's definitely a high chance of that. So I just tried to taper back where I knew I would jack my heart rate up the most, which was going to be right there in that ski erg, which I don't know if that's for everybody, but for me, like that's the station where like it can get really out of control.
Yeah. I've only used a ski erg once and actually felt fine. One time. I did the deck is strong, only time I've ever used the thing.
No. And then as for the runs, like they're not comfortable. Like I still enjoy running. I'll still go out and run as many days as I can. But it's definitely not like a comfortable feeling. So when I'm out there and it's just, I don't even know how to explain it, because I wouldn't say it necessarily bounces, because for those of you males and for those of you females who haven't been pregnant yet, guys, you probably won't ever feel this, but it's not like it's not a soft, like, sort of bouncy. It doesn't give, it's hard. It's like a hard object attached to the front of you. And I don't know how to explain it any better than that. It's just like this hard mass in front of you as you're trying to run, and like you're figuring out counterbalance, and I don't know. It's just it's definitely something different. So running's not super comfortable.
Did you find, I used to wear a band that wrapped under the base of it, and it was like someone was holding it, and then it felt a lot better.
I haven't tried that. If you have a recommendation of a brand, I will try it. Too late for the race, but
yeah.
But it doesn't bounce up and down. It's just like solid, and it's in the way of a lot of things. So, like I can't put my shoes on normally, or I can't tie them normally. I have to like move my foot to a different spot, or like changing laundry over, or picking something up. I have to like get into a sumo position because it just doesn't get out of the way. It stays there. This has been very interesting to learn like the weird things that I have to change.
Pregnancy mechanics.
Yeah, pregnancy mechanics.
Was there any, like, and speaking of that, was there any other stations that you had to adjust? Definitely the burpees. Yeah, move around, get out of that sun.
Yeah. So.
Like the burpees, you had to do the burpees differently. And we were told that you were given maybe different standards for your burpees too.
So I looked up the standards and then I went to Mintra. I was like, so the standards say like your chest has to touch the ground, and you have to jump with 2 feet forwards. So I asked her and I showed her, I was like, so I can get my chest to touch the ground, but I'm going to keep my knees down so that my stomach doesn't touch. Is this going to be okay? She's like, well, technically that's the standards. So yeah, you can do that. I was like, okay, well then this is what I'm going to do. But like, it's different than what I would like. The burpee station is actually my favorite station, which most people probably hate that station, but it's usually my best station and where I can make up a lot of ground. And I was the slowest person this time on that station out of all of us that went through it. So I added 2.5 minutes, I think, just right there. And it was, I mean, my jump's probably not as far. I'm being much more cautious going down, where I would usually just like probably slam my body down and then worm up and go. And I don't get to worm up anymore. I don't get to slam my body down, and I have to do like an actual push-up with the burpee, because if I worm, then now I'm on my stomach. So, but that actually wasn't even like, that's not an uncomfortable station. It's just a slow one. Rowing is not comfortable. So that one was probably my least favorite station, even though like it wasn't, I didn't add as much time there as I did on some other stations.
I never even thought about that. The mass in the front and trying to get the knees bent and get close and get a full length stroke would be difficult.
Yeah. So rowing is not currently my best friend. I can do it. I don't enjoy it. Yeah.
The sleds, right? There was a bit of controversy about sleds, so might as well ask you how you feel about it. So from my understanding, they said the sleds were the same overall weight, but that they removed a plate. So did you find them, but yet it seemed like the sled times on average were quite a bit quicker than normal for North American sled times. How did the whole thing go with you? What was your kind of take?
So sorry. Nobody told us, like it wasn't announced in any of our briefings, that the sled weights were not going to have the same amount of plates on them. I was unaware that was somehow some of the guys knew. I've listened to some of the podcasts, and some of the guys knew before they were going to race that it was one less plate. Maybe they're just more observant than I am, because I didn't notice until after the race was over. Somebody came up and asked me, they're like, so how come you guys had one less plate than usual? I was like, I didn't even know that we had one less plate than usual. And then we went back at like pictures and videos and looked, and they were right. It was one less plate than usual. For me, it didn't feel any less heavy, but again, everything feels heavy right now. So I'm not the person to ask on like whether or not it was easier. I would ask somebody that's probably in their normal shape. But how I feel about it, I don't like that there was one less plate. If maybe it was the same weight, and if it is, like, I can say that's fine, but it could change the race, and people didn't know that. And for somebody like Miriam coming over, who that's going to be a big strength for her, I don't know, that's not fair. Like, it's a standardized race. Like, we're supposed to have, like, it's anything I've ever done, it's always the weight added to the sled. Like, I've always been told the sled weighs nothing. It's always what's added to the sled is what the race is. So I don't know, if I were Miriam, I'd be pretty upset, because like that should have been a really good station for her, where she gets to like blow people out of the water, and losing 55 pounds is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, and I mean, for me, it was the one bad thing from the whole weekend. They did so good on everything else, but I still can't buy that. Even if they changed the sled to a different sled, I've never seen one, exercise sled weigh 55 pounds more than another exercise sled. So that's where I kind of was like, that doesn't make sense to me that it's like that. I mean, I wasn't not there, so it's difficult.
It's hard because like I adore that whole staff. Like they work so hard. Like they try and make everything as perfect for like their, I don't know if you want to call them their members, for their participants, like for the community. Like they want to make it a good, a beautiful and exciting and enjoyable event for everybody there that's coming. So it was just hard to like have that one thing, and I didn't even know about it until after to be like, because it's a standard. I just want standards to be followed to how they're supposed to be. Like if you're doing wall balls, go below parallel. If the sled's supposed to be a certain weight, like do the certain weight. And it's the rules. So I don't know.
The judging did seem on point. The judging did seem really good with walls, and to be honest, I don't think I saw a single person that deserved a no rep. But you know, in considering some of the stuff I saw from New York, and then this, it was just, it seemed like the judging was really well done this time. It just, like I said, everything seemed really good except for that sled thing, and it really ticked me off that they were so close to this great event. The ambiance, the whole spectacle of it was great, and then that one thing, and I'm like,
right. And I don't even know if I deserve to be upset about it, because like I wasn't fighting for anything, but I just find it not fair. And I know that like some speculation was to help the Europeans, and I don't even think that's true, because I actually think like some of the Europeans would have done better with a heavier sled. Like Alexander probably would have done, I mean, maybe not beat Ryan Kent, but I think like he would have spaced him out even more from fourth place. Like if the sled was heavier, like Miriam could have done better if the sled was heavier. And so I don't even think it was like an American versus European kind of thing.
That's the whole conspiracy thing right there, and I don't buy into any of that. I'm sure they had their reasons for doing what they did. Like they wanted to make, I'm sure they had the best intentions for doing it. I just thought it shouldn't have been done at that time.
Yeah. Or at least like tell us so that we're aware. Like that would have been nice too, so that people knew. And then you could go in saying like, hey, this is why it's done. This sled is significantly heavier than it usually is, so we're going to take a plate off. And then maybe just kind of nip it in the butt before it starts. Yeah. But because that didn't happen, now there's all the talk about it. Where I feel like if it had been talked about before, it could have been
and it might have changed some people's race strategies also coming into that station. Like some people, well, I mean, you really hold back before you hit the sled. So knowing it's a bit lighter, maybe you wouldn't have. I don't know.
I probably would have still held back, but some people might not have. Like, yeah, you're right. It could have changed their strategy.
Well, some people already get it in their head on the sled. I'm going to push halfway, rest, go the rest of the way. Like that's their rest point. And if the sled's lighter, maybe they don't have to take that rest point.
And they can keep going.
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. I think Beth is right that it could have affected some people's strategy. I mean, if and buts, right? Who knows?
Yeah.
The one thing too, that going forward, and I mean, I don't know if you'll be participating in 2023 or what the deal was. We'll let the future bring what it does. Do you think that maybe they will implement or should implement a different qualifications system for Worlds?
I don't know if they're going to, because I think that would be a lot of talking and conversing and figuring out, and I don't know if they're going to. Should they? I would like to see something different, because like Kris obviously deserved to be there, and she didn't. Like if all these girls accepted their invitation, like she wouldn't have gotten to go, which I don't think is fair, because like she 100% proved that she deserved to be there. So yeah, I would like to see that changed. I don't know if I have a hard time seeing it being changed this year, maybe another 2 or 3 years down the future.
I would like to see it where they put more of a relevance on, say, like the North American Championship, where you qualify to run the North American Championship, and then people from the North American Championship, how they do there. places them into the Worlds, and then perhaps a couple of wild cards after that, time-wise after that. But that way, it really also makes a bigger event out of your regional championships.
I think that's a great idea, because then you're at least getting, like, say they give top 5 to both.
Yeah.
Now you're at least getting 5 Americans, 5 Europeans, or depending on how the sport blows up, like maybe it gets bigger in a certain country. Maybe the UK has the most amount of participants, so maybe they get 5 all to their own. Like maybe do it participant based. And then 5 if they're sticking with the 15, like 5 wild cards after that.
Yeah.
I think would be a really great idea. I don't know the timeline for their schedule yet either. Like, I don't know if they announced when any of their championships are going to be.
I don't think so as of yet. And they haven't announced for Worlds yet. Rumor that I'm hearing for Worlds is Manchester.
I asked one of the co-owners, and that's what he told me, that it is Manchester, but I didn't hear when it's going to be
started, Lauren.
What?
That's how rumors get started.
I mean, if I ask a co-owner, I feel like that's pretty pretty set. So yeah, I think it will, like 95% it's going to be in Manchester, which is that's a cool place to want to go visit.
I think it's spectacular because they are getting great crowds out of the UK.
Yeah.
Massive turnout. And I think holding it there is a smart idea.
And I don't know, I would assume, because I think they want their championships to be in May. Like, I think they want that to be a continual thing, and just because of just different things that have gone on with COVID, that it's been all over the place. So I would guess that that's going to be in May. I'm curious when like the European and the US championships would be, though.
Well, when was it this year? It was
in January or February? January? End of January, maybe?
It was Chicago, right?
It was Chicago this year.
January.
But it looks like all the ones they've announced so far are before the new year. So like before 2023.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they would wait until after to kind of say when. That'd be.
Well, like I said, I think Manchester would be great. I know they haven't announced, they were talking 40 events this year. So hopefully we do get a few more in North America. And it looks like they're going back to some of the old reliables, Chicago and Boston and New York. And it just will be interesting to see if they come with some new places, maybe like something like in Atlanta, or, I'm sure they'll be back to Dallas, maybe Toronto.
Have you heard if they're going to go into Canada this year?
No, I have not heard. Honestly, I don't think they will. I think when that will happen is when maybe we get a few more Canadians making the trip south to be in them. Because I mean, like, even, and I've said this before, I wanted to put like a top 10 Canadian time list together, and I don't even know that there's enough to do it. So yeah, I think maybe if Canadians show a little more interest and travel a bit more for it, then they would think, I mean, they had Toronto on the schedule at one time, and then it went away and turned into New York. And I don't know if it'll come back right away or not. I hope so, because I think it would do well. I mean, you put it in Toronto, it's going to draw.
It's really just, I mean, COVID, we only had a couple in North America, and then we got shut down and couldn't cross the border. So it's not really the fault of Canadians not being interested.
And then maybe if they could like spark more interest by sending like some of the representatives over to do like the PFT and some of the gyms, just like make awareness of it before putting an event in. Like if they go from now until the fall, like to different gyms doing the PFT, and then announce like January, February that there's one in Canada, people would be aware of it.
Yeah, and especially, I mean, you're talking in the Toronto area, what you're dealing with a population of like 6 million, something in that neck of the woods, right? So I mean, the people are there, and they Toronto likes big time events. That's they're into that, so it would go over well. I'm pretty sure that I would think they could even sell it out. But yeah, that's right. We weren't able to go, right? There was the first one in Chicago that Bethany went to, and then after that, it's been almost impossible or super expensive for us to travel than the other ones.
And traveling now is getting even more expensive too. Like I've looked into, not that I'm allowed to fly right now, but I've looked into different flights here and there, and they're way more expensive than they were even just a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Flights for us are always crazy expensive. Our flights are always, but even still, even, I'm king of the road trips. Even now, gas is just jacked through the roof, so it's even more expensive then. So it's tricky. It's tricky. But hopefully, I would still say one in Toronto will be worth it. I think the U.S. Championship, I wouldn't be surprised if they went back to Chicago with it because it was successful there, and they've got such a good setup. So who knows?
Do you think we're gonna? Hi, buddy.
Oh.
You're good. Do you think we'll see another company show up? Like we have Hyrox, we have Deca. Do you think that we'll be seeing another one coming down?
I don't think you'll see anything as big, like invested, but you're getting on this next. Have you ever heard of City Challenge?
I have not. I don't know what
City Challenge is an OCR race, and they do it in the cities. They have made their own like City Fit, I think it's called, version essentially of Deca, where it's done like a Deca Strong in a gym, and they have started. I think they've had 2 or 3 events. They've started hosting them. It was something actually I was meaning to talk about eventually, but I haven't got around to it. So yeah, they've started doing something. So I think you're going to see stuff like that pop up here and there. Will someone come out with a big one? I don't know. You need a lot of capital, and you really gotta grow it. But I mean, I kind of hope some people would, because there's a lot of things. When you do, discuss it with us so that we can help you, because there's some things that I think would make for a better event, right? Especially when you're staying with the Hyrox or Deca, it's the same every time. Like there's things that I would definitely have changed about both of them from the beginning, and it'd be nice to see. I still say and have from day one that these things should be run either 400 or 800 meters, so that every track out there is available and it's consistent and it's the same, right? To me, that seemed like a no-brainer right off the start, but nobody agreed. Nobody agreed. So I don't know. What do you think, Beth? Do you think that anybody else will come out with one?
I haven't seen anything in the works, but like even things like RX1 where it's so similar, but the workouts themselves change more frequently, like that type of thing is more likely to pop up than the standardized race itself, where it's the same thing all the time.
Yeah, and we go on about that, Lauren. Sometimes you should come up and try that RX1.
It sounds like a lot of fun. I would love to do it. I thought I had heard you mention one time that they were considering expanding out into the US. I don't know if that's still like a possibility.
They want to expand, and they do it kind of like would do it almost like Spartan used to do with like a franchisee thing. So I think they would definitely do it. But yeah, they're holding like 16 races a year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
5 locations, 3 at each, and then a championship.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think they're having prize money now for the pro division.
I think it would be a very popular event here.
Oh, it's
especially because it like if it changes all the time, and if like the races could be as short as 3 miles, like there are tons of CrossFitters that can run 3 miles, 3K, even shorter.
Yeah. Because the biggest, I think, with Hyrox, the biggest thing that's a deterrent to people is it's 8K of running.
I still think half rocks. Half rocks would bring CrossFitters out.
Mm-hmm. It would. I like the 8K of running, but I agree if they had done it, if they ever make like a half version, they would see a lot of people coming out from like the gyms.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think that'd be, to me, even like you could keep the weights and the reps the same, but just half the running distance would, I think, bring out a lot more people. And also be quicker to do. Right now I'm really down on the mixed doubles. That's something that I'm upset about, just because Dylan and Tara wrecked it.
You're upset that Tara wrecked it? Why are you upset about that?
Dylan and Tara wrecked mixed doubles for Hyrox because with their technique of of Dylan just do everything and Tara just keep up to him on the run. I'm like, but that's not doubles. That's just Dylan doing Hyrox and you running with him.
I mean, yes,
Dylan
but
doing
she
lighter
did
Hyrox.
do some stuff.
Yes,
Right?
she did. But she even said she doesn't like their technique, but it's the fastest way they can do it. But I'm just like, it's a real loophole in there. And then did they not just Marcus Friesen just set the record in the UK and he used like he went with his partner was like a 10K runner. And
Lucas, I think Lucas did it.
Taurus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucas Strauss, yeah.
No, I saw that they had gotten the new record.
Yeah, and that's what they did, right? They just essentially, he did everything and she did the 10K run with him, right? They did the 8K run.
I didn't follow closely enough to know what their strategy was, but I would believe you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So I mean, like, it's kind of broken that way. I don't like that. I wanted to see more.
Like you have to do a certain amount at every station, or
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix it now. Now it's Pandora's box has been opened and it is what it is now. I feel like
that's an easier one to change, like even though it's already been set.
I still like the men's doubles and the women's doubles. I think those are great, but just the mixed one seems to have, which is funny because before that, I really thought that was the most interesting one. And now it's not.
Not when you can get a loophole through it.
Yeah. That's why I actually like the DECA relay better.
That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And a lot of strategy.
Yeah. And
definitely a lot of strategy.
And that one, yeah. I think because you don't have to run at the same time, other than the first lap and the last lap, that changes everything. And I think that one, I'm looking forward. I'm gonna be trying that one. I'm looking forward to it, and getting my old ass kicked because that'll be the second race of the day. So,
when are you planning on doing a DECA?
Chicago.
When is that?
July 30th.
Yeah,
July 30th. So it's coming quicker. Like it's not too far away. So it'll be good. I have my relay partner from Florida, of course, because that only makes sense. And yeah. So we have no strategy whatsoever yet. We will figure it out. But we're both.
I will not be at that one.
No. You're being busy, eh?
I'll probably be pretty busy. Yeah.
I was thinking that earlier where you said you might not be able to work out, post birth. The good news is I think you will have things to do.
I think I will too. And I'm gonna test like how much she's willing to let me do for sure. Be like, so am I allowed to put my treadmill on an incline and can I walk at 15%? Like, am I allowed to do just like arms with the dumbbells, and at exactly how many days am I not allowed to be doing certain things for? Like, I want to know.
Or were you saying something about?
It's so individual, and so much of it is going to depend on the birth too, and how that all goes, and the recovery
and what kind of birth it ends up being, and
exactly. Yeah, I've seen a huge range again with my clients too, so you just have to wait and see,
figure out what it is, and then kind of make a plan from there. But I know I'm going to get antsy, so I'm hoping that the recovery is not too long. From what I understand, if I am compliant and like take it slower with the recovery, I should be able to then ramp up like at a sooner time than if I push it too early, which I know is just hard pill to swallow.
Well, I think two things about your incredible run at Hyrox. One, your run should have been eligible for the doubles as well. It only makes sense to me. And two, when you have your baby and it grows up and is like a horrible child like they all are, you have the best thing over. You can do the ultimate mom thing where it's like, oh mom, I don't want to do my homework, I don't want to clean my room. I ran World Championship Hyrox with you 8 months pregnant. You can clean your room. It's like the ultimate ammo.
Yeah, I agree. And I had to do homework that day as well. So she can do her homework.
Yeah, that kid's it doesn't have a chance. Poor baby. Anyway,
No, I am worried about because I know girls are tough. Like I know what it like. We can have a lot of attitude, so I am definitely a little bit worried in the years to come.
You're gonna do awesome.
Yeah.
If I can raise a teenage girl, anybody can.
From how you've talked about her, she sounds like she's a very lovely, polite girl.
Yeah, well, you know, sometimes you get lucky. You know, when you neglect them enough, they get tough enough to figure things out on their own. And then you just take credit for it.
All their accomplishments.
Yeah, it's mostly my stuff. I figure this is good because I once gave Rachel Vondrack marriage advice, so I can now start giving you great parenting advice.
You can give her parenting advice too.
I know. We're very excited about that, and we didn't discuss it as much because we weren't sure about how much Rachel wanted talked about. But I mean, now knowing, but was amazing to get out there and do that. She didn't have quite the day you did. She got a little I think she said she's a little overheated and thought it would be better to pull out and stop, but
and I think she did get dizzy too, which like was very smart for her to stop, because I mean I had like not a lot of things that my doctor told me that I need to stop for, and that was one of them. So I'm sure it wasn't an easy decision, but it was definitely the best and smartest decision for her.
Yeah.
Not knowing Rachel, I'm sure Zach might have been trying to help her make that decision, because knowing Rachel, she doesn't like to quit. She does not have that in her. That is not in her nature. So.
I'm sure he was there to help, because every time I'd pass Anthony, he'd be like, "Are you sure? You're good? Do you want to stop? Are you okay? How are you feeling?" "I'm fine." I had a water bottle hidden. Why
did you have to hide it?
Just because I stopped like every single time before I went out for a run to get water. Like right before the exit to like go back out on a run. So no, I took some time to make sure I hydrated before every 1K. But
well, congratulations on the world record for pregnant women running Hyrox. I think it's going to stand for a while.
We don't know that. We don't know if any of those girls there are pregnant, and they just haven't said it.
Well, if you want to claim the record, you have to say so beforehand, right? Otherwise, it doesn't count. You can't do
No,
that.
it still counts. If any of them like come back and say like, "Oh, I was pregnant," I counted for them.
Well, we got to have like a limit here. There's got to be at least a time limit, because you can't be like 2 weeks pregnant. That doesn't count. It's got to be like at least, second trimester.
At least knowing about it. I'll give them if you know. If you're aware.
Fine.
The first month, I'd say.
You're too
After
nice.
the first month.
First month.
Because if you're aware, you're at least mentally like it might affect you mentally, in terms of, oh, am I doing too much? Am I pushing too hard?
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it affects you physically. Like that, I mean, this is forever ago. Like I didn't know I was pregnant when I was at Spartan Games, but like if I had known, I probably would have held back a whole lot more. So yeah, it would affect me mentally. So I'd say if you know, it counts.
All right, fine. Well, it's your division. You can make the rules. Wow, Spartan Games. We could have a whole other conversation about that. But
we really probably couldn't, to be honest.
No, we're not gonna. Okay, Beth, you got anything else for Lauren?
No, that's great. Thanks so much, Lauren, for coming on and chatting with us again. And all the best now with the remainder of your pregnancy. I'm really excited to speak to you then after the birth.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And sadly, it won't be a boy. Otherwise, Dave would have been a good name. I'm just saying.
Do they have any female Daves?
It could be Davida.
Not so sure about that one. It reminds me of like too close to like Cruella de Vil.
That was a great one.
That's what it reminds me of.
All right. It does sound like an evil villain.
Oh, yeah.